Oh, I can hear now.
With the mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible. We call him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Siebel. All right, Chief, we are live. It is all you.
Hey, can you hear it?
We can.
All right, cool, man. This is way to go. Let me get Josh on here in one way or the other.
All right, now fill some time. For anybody listening live, we are trying out some new software and, ironing out a few kinks. We're going to get the guest in studio here shortly, and we can get this show kicked off. Chief, if you're ready, go ahead and take the show. And if you need a few minutes, I'll fill some time.
Yeah, I need a couple minutes. Let me see what I can do to pull up a couple things to. Thanks.
No worries. All right, everybody. My name is Brian. You might have seen me a time or two. I've been a guest on the show, but I'm the guy at Sitch Radio behind the scenes pushing buttons. And if you are new to this show, we are trying out a platform entitled Bullhorn.fm. And as you can see, we can have multiple co-hosts, which is cool. But most importantly, we can do cool things like the graphic you just saw below and or clickable ads. So if you're not watching on Bullhorn, if you're on Facebook or YouTube, head on over to bullhorn.fm, create your free account and or download the app for your mobile device so you can interact with the show. You can actually ask questions and people in the queue can vote that question up or down. There's a chat section for listeners to chat amongst each other. And there's actually a call-in feature where you can push a button on your mobile device and or click the icon on your screen, and we can add your voice to the show. So Bullhorn has some cool features that we are playing with. And as soon as we get the guest in here, we can get this show kicked. Chief, real quick.
Yes.
You notice the two URLs. Make sure the co-host URL gets to your guest, and I'll see him pop up in the green room.
All right, I just sent him the link again, so hopefully
Awesome.
he can get on.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah, until he gets on, obviously trying out new software is always kind of a trick, but I'll be looking to have Josh Castro on here, a good buddy of mine that helps out combat vets. But me and Brian do a lot of stuff. Just to give you an idea, there's Brian talked me into this. Brian Colburn, this is sitchradio.com where he's coming from. Obviously, we are on Bullhorn today. The show is really designed to have some opinions, some life experiences, some things that we talk about that are real to us, that may affect people in a lot of different ways. And they're real issues that happen to our combat vets, real issues that our sponsor supporters and volunteers are involved in. Because on time and from time to time, I have them on my show to talk about things and issues that they, why it's important to them. And for our combat vets, it's to tell their story. It's to get something out that's really kind of raw, or things that don't really exist in society, don't have a place in society, because we're constantly dealing with things that are kind of not real to anybody else but us. And when I think about talking to my combat buddies, I've talked to a lot of them this week. Every time I have a conversation with somebody, I learn something. I get an aha moment, or something important is said that allows me to better articulate a thought, or better understand what might be going on with me in relationships, in just pure actions, to whatever that might be, whatever it might look like. And I think sometimes we get lost in ourselves. We don't necessarily know how to work with ourselves properly. And I think I can understand I can understand definitely why suicide is such a hot topic and why it's such an issue. I think society has put a lot of pressure on each one of us in some way, some fashion. That pressure is getting bigger and bigger all the time, especially with what's going on in the world. And obviously, the prices at the gas tank for your gas tank to fill up, and groceries on your table. So that is combined to a combat vet, somewhat even more so, because trying to always understand these freedoms we fought for and how they get mixed up in different things in society, and how we get, you know, led down a trail that maybe, we want to be outspoken about, but we don't always have a place or a a drive for that. So we isolate. We become, maybe a little bit difficult to deal with. We become uh, jaded or frustrated in society, and it's just really, really good when we have these battle buddies, when we have these things. Um, hey, Josh, I guess you're on only in sound only. So are you able to say anything right now? I don't hear him. Uh, Obviously, trying out this new technology on day one of this uh, will mess things up possibly. But if I don't get Josh on today, I'll definitely get him on in the next few weeks, if not next week. I do have a guest set for next week, but we may push for that. So I will double check on that. And I was talking to you a little bit about talking to some of these vets throughout the week, and I don't I don't always talk to new vets every week, but sometimes my week gets packed with them. And I'll say, I had three different new vets that I needed to talk to this week. Um, Almost four. Waiting for a call back for another one. But these guys, a lot of us, just get kind of mixed up in our own heads, and we don't necessarily have that outlet. And it's funny because when I first talk to somebody, it might seem a little bit jaded and very standoffish, because there's a trust issue, because you got to build this relationship. And it's important for me to have a genuine conversation with somebody, because I don't want to just do this and listening to another vet kind of tell me, I said, hey, why do you go to the Warrior Built Foundation, the PTSD Foundation's group at Warrior Built, which is hybrid, and not some other group? And he said, I've been to a lot of groups, and some groups just feel like they're pushing the buttons. They're maybe putting the check in the box and just kind of going through the checks. And I feel like, my group, and I was told this too, and it kind of got this aha moment from that piece, because someone said, hey man, your group is kind of like a family. And that was way back when I had the PTSD Foundation of America. One of my guys came, one of my chiefs came down to check things out and see how things were ran. He said, hey, your group's more like a family group. It's kind of, really well put together. And so to listen to him say, hey, it just is more personable. And I don't know, that's not necessarily me, but it's like, I want to care, and I want to know what's going on with each one of my guys. I want to try to understand and learn something from each one of them, and all the guys I work with, and all the combat vets that are out there doing something. Yeah, I just love to hear the stories. I love to see what's going on. And some that aren't combat vets, some vets that really are doing some incredible things in their lives, and they're just moving through and trying to do some important things, and they're kind of lost. They don't have anybody to talk to, and they don't necessarily relate. But to listen to them and get some time with them, I can relate, and there's something I find in common. I try to find some common ground, and it really makes a difference in someone's life for that day, uh, for the next day, until it's, whatever it might be. But Josh, you able to talk at all? Hey, so it looks like this might just be kind of that show, and really what I'll do is I'll just turn it into a show kind of about that. I'll turn it into a show about the conversations, some of the stories I have with some of these guys that kind of stand out to me. And one of those stories that I kind of wanted to bring up. Hey, Josh, you on?
Hey, Chief, this is not Josh. It's just Brian. I wanted to make sure this is working. Josh seems to be having a hard time.
Yeah, yeah. Your comm is good when you bounce in here. So
Yeah, so we just
sorry.
asked Josh to rejoin. We'll try to get his audio into ASAP. Thanks.
Hey, thanks, appreciate it. So yeah, I was saying, I had a conversation with a vet today earlier, and I'll say, to listen to him say, hey, I went on this great trip, and there's, I want to, I'm always about vetting out some organizations, some things, and some guys come back from something that they've done and they're super excited about it. They want me to meet, uh, the head guy that organization, and he said, hey, something that really kind of resonated with me, that really made a difference in my mindset, um, was when I was told, we as veterans, some of us that served and did this thing and went to combat and are dealing with some of the things, is because we're men of service, and um, and we still want to serve. So that purpose becomes kind of like a driven deal. But sometimes you have all the wheels in the world, but you just don't have the platform to drive, or you just don't have the highway to go on. You just don't have that trail that's available. So sometimes that is, sometimes it isn't. Um, but but yeah, that was a cool statement that I got, and a couple other statements that I that I got this week, from a few different guys, and like I said, all these new guys that I was talking to. One of them has written a book. Uh, he's got a lot of stuff in his mind. He's dealing with a lot of things. Has had some problems with the VA. I'm actually looking to get him on. Um, not a combat vet, but a vet that really admits to that and talks about. And I think we're going to highlight some of that in his show. But what got me was, he didn't come across like he's a victim. He's not trying to do anything. He's just doing his deal. He's a giver. He's an inventor. He's eccentric. He's frustrated at the situation that he's in, to the point where he was like, "Hey, I'm going to quit eating and I'm just going to go. I don't need to be here anymore. If this is how it's going to be, medication issue, problems with that times two separate occasions. Tried to fix it, but uh, with all the bureaucracy of things, um, sometimes it gets in its own way of being successful. But he has reasonable thoughts of it, but he talks about them out loud. So I thought it was really interesting. But what was cool about it is, like, one of the problems is putting non-combat vets with vets that didn't necessarily serve in that capacity, and they're dealing with PTSD from other issues. Now, obviously, if you want to just go down a road of, hey, we're going to treat PTSD as PTSD, that's fine. But when you have to share and you have to connect, uh, and you can't do it in an environment where the majority is designed to, it was designed originally to be for combat vets, and now you want to throw everybody in the mix, drug pops and this and this and that. And I've seen it, and I've seen it go down the tubes, and guys maybe just don't feel worthy. They don't feel like they served enough or something like that. And you don't want that to be an issue. And that can easily become one. And we definitely don't want that to be an issue, but it is. And and then you got, hey, I served, I did this. I don't want it to be service connected because it was prior to service. And his honesty to it all, his fortitude to it all. And then in talking to me this week, he decided, is he compromising himself because he's hungry, he wants to eat, but his biggest fear is to get, you know, in a situation where he's got to go to the hospital and be under, care, because he isn't strong enough to survive, kind of thing.
Hey, Chief, real quick, let me jump in here. Josh, can you hear
Yeah.
us? Josh? Josh, there's a mute button on your screen. Why don't you try hitting that? Make sure your volume's all the way up. we should be okay. All right, Chief, why don't you go ahead while you work on Josh?
All right, no problem. So, when you talk about that, uh, as I think I might have lost my thought, but no, he was basically talking like, hey, he's hungry. The guy likes to eat ice cream every day. He's got this whole really cool deal, and is he compromising himself because he doesn't want to end up in the scariest part of his deal, which would be to get an ambulance that cost him a bunch of money, uh, because he made a decision to try to go down a path, um, when really he wants the attention to get the care that he's deserving and should have. And when he's assured that, hey, the medication will be fixed and it shows up in the mail 2 days later and it's the same medication that he had to begin with, it's super frustrating. And I can understand that. And he was told before he left that, hey, this medication is something that you need for the rest of your life. But now he doesn't have it for the rest of his life. So what's the point? And he made some valid points. But he also has this very awesome way of having like the balance of understanding what's going through his mind. And I think these aha moments came to me just listening to him as he's going about how sometimes we end up in a state of chaos and we just can't stop it. We're just too stubborn. We're too driven. We have a purpose now. Uh, there's a whole bunch of stuff that feeds it. The ego, the fight or flight, the adrenaline, the push, the hey, I feel like I was wronged and I want to make it right, even if it's wrong in the process that you're going about it. Um, Meaning maybe you're just too jaded to have some empathy, sympathy, and a little bit of love in your heart for those around you, and you just get fired up and you just stay in this state of craziness. Why? Because you can. Because you fought for this freedom or you served, and you just know how to. You just know the system, and the system's against you, and I get it. You feel that way, and I get that way. I I understood. So I mean, it was great to listen to him kind of talk about it in ways that I can understand and got. So I think when I have him on, it's going to be like a two-part deal, and he's got some links to his books. It'll be interesting to see him. He also has two rooms where he has like a weaving or a cloth making machine, um, um, fabric deal, and so he built and has made great inventions on this machine. It's probably old technology. However, he just likes to have it weaving and makes towels and different things that are pretty amazing. He's made some electric trikes and different things like that. He likes to give $20 bills out at Christmas. Uh, Sometimes everybody that's homeless asks him for money, he'll hand them some. So this is a guy that's a giver. That he has purpose, things like that. But he ran into a situation, ended up in a bad place, reached out to some organizations, some things, ended up on my um, privy, saying, hey, can you give this guy a call? I do. I call these guys cold, where I usually send them a message first via text, and basically kind of introducing myself in one way. Uh, and then the other thing, I start talking about a little bit about myself to them, so that for one, they know who that they're talking to. It's not just some guy that's trying to be a salesman or anything like that. But I can understand how it may look like that. I just want to give them a quick scope on who I am, and I do my introduction much like I do here. Hey, I'm Aaron Siebert, retired Navy chief, lucky to be alive, and I just help out combat vets. If that's all I can get out, then that's all I can get out. Uh, I haven't had anybody say no, I don't want none. Very few, actually, maybe maybe a few, but it's usually after some conversations. But the conversations are always good, and whether or not they get involved with a warrior group or something in themselves, um, that's that's not always the case. But a lot of these guys want the conversation. They get calls from me randomly, and I probably talk to about 50 vets consistently throughout the Southern California area, or actually across the United States, but mostly on the West Coast area, just because obviously Camp Pendleton is such a huge place. I spent a lot of my time there. Upon retirement, most of them have retired. Somewhere in California, Arizona, now heading to Texas. So Texas is kind of, I got a lot of friends in Texas and different things like that. But there's veterans out there. There's families out there. There's a lot of people suffering from different things, and there's Americans that are dealing with a lot of things. And I just don't think we spend enough time kind of reaching out to each person or our families or ourselves. And even in church, I want to say, church is an amazing thing. It's got all these different things, morale, lessons, the Bible, all kinds of really incredible things that are super important, but it doesn't have necessarily that point where you want to share something, because as much as we don't want to be judged, we constantly feel like we are. And that's the biggest thing I don't want to cause for anybody.
Hey,
And
she.
yeah.
There
Hey,
it goes.
how you doing, Josh?
Doing good, man. Sorry to interrupt. You can obviously figure out I'm not a techie guy.
Hey, hey, that's all right, man. So we got you on comm, but we just don't have you visually. Is that correct?
Yeah, it didn't give me an opportunity to even like select a camera.
Well, down below, it should have mic on and video on.
It just has a mic on.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Chief, he's on a mobile device, so this is all we're gonna have is audio.
Oh, okay, okay. So is that the way it's always going to be, Brian?
Negative.
Okay, cool. Well, hey, Josh. You know, I will have you on again too, but for the most part, go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about some of the incredible things that you've been doing. And you and I go back, I want to say almost 5, 6 years now.
Yeah, I want to say
So
it's at least 2016, at least maybe 15.
yeah, something like that. So, me and Josh worked he worked Northern California. I spent some time meeting him, and he's part of the PTSD Foundation, as I am. Uh, yeah, go ahead, Josh. Introduce yourself. Talk a little bit. Be
Well, yeah,
great
you
to hear
got it.
from
Yeah. So, my name is Josh, and I was in the Army from 2005 to 2008, active duty. Then I did Guard and Reserve for another, few years up until 2014. But yeah, no, like Chief said, I've been involved with the PTSD Foundation of America since around 2015, when I actually went through the program myself. And ever since then, I've been actively involved in the mentorship of veterans. I arranged the intake coordinator position. Like Chief said, I worked up in Northern California for that chapter, running groups. And now I'm in the Dallas Fort Worth area as the general manager out there, overseeing the groups and growing it from here, to back to what it used to be pre-COVID. That definitely put a damper on a lot of stuff, but extracurricular activities. I was a veteran service rep in Northern California, so I wanted to understand how the VA worked. There's so much to know, and getting certified that way, it helped me to really help veterans out and their families in the comp and pension world, education, and even the health side. I was also a veteran commissioner up there in El Dorado County for District 2, so board appointed. That was really exciting to see how we could affect and change different things for veterans and the family and the county. But over the years, worked for nonprofits as well as helped start veteran centers at schools in Northern California. But yeah, I just had my hand in a little bit of everything over the years.
Hey, Josh, talk a little bit about your transition and the reason you had to go through Camp Hope and why Camp Hope was important to you, kind of thing.
Yeah. Camp Hope's something that I will always have on my heart daily. So deployment during the surge. So I did a year and a half in 7 and 8. in Ramadi, Fallujah, all over the Anbar and southeast of Baghdad. Was hit by multiple IEDs, and we lost 4 guys in our platoon alone, 7 overall. Definitely a hard deployment, and saw a lot of things, did a lot of things I would have never thought I would have been able to do. During those times, you just sort of put your head down and go because that's the mission, and you never really process it until you get out. And after active duty, when I got out, I really had to try to keep that foot in the door and out with the Guard and Reserve, and it just wasn't happening. There was just something missing, and I started, really suffering, job wise, marital wise, and everybody just wanted me to get help. I actually did try to go to Yountville out there in Napa to one of the VA PTSD homes, and it was good. But there was just still something missing. And lucky for me, I actually had a buddy from my platoon that was working down at Camp Hope. And he called me and said, "Hey, you want to come on out here?" And I said, "Yeah, definitely, man. I'll be out there 3 days." It took me about 3 weeks, but I got out there nonetheless. And I think I dealt with a lot of survivor's guilt. That was one of the main things. I was supposed to be on a vehicle, and then I got hit by a 200-pound HME IED, and that just really made me think a lot. Like I should have been on there. What if I could have switched out? A lot of what ifs, and I really had to learn to just process those situations. And going through Camp Hope, man, that transition into it was amazing. Just being able to be around veterans on the daily, and actually be able to relate to them. I can talk to doctors and they're great, but there's no real relationship establishing. It's more of a get in, here's what you should know, learn this and go. But at Camp Hope, man, I learned some skills that I forgot all about. Going overseas, you sort of just have the mission in mind and how to accomplish it. And it's fight or flight. You got to make quick decisions to stay alive. But being able to go through Camp Hope and learn to process, and learn what emotions I'm feeling and why I'm feeling them, and being able to even just open up and share things that I've never talked to guys about. I felt safe to do that there, and it was powerful and it was amazing. So that's why I just continued to assist in any which way I could over the years. I've made great friends through there that I'm able to call, that visit. I'm remarried now to somebody else, and we have actual friends and a life now. I'm able to establish believe me, the marriage ain't perfect. I definitely have my moments due to the TBIs and stuff, and there is. It takes me a little bit to process, but I'll always come around to make it right in the end. But yeah, Camp Hope was amazing.
Yeah, and as you talk about Camp Hope, just so everyone knows, Camp Hope it's basically our headquarters for the PTSD Foundation of America. It's actually a facility, in Houston, Texas, that we can all throughout the United States, whoever is doing these warrior groups and helping, they can send these guys. And Camp Hope's sitting at right around 85 people at any given time. It seems like there's a lot of guys flying in there on Mondays. We fly them in, and then they're going to stay there for 4, 6, 8 months until they process through and go through the Combat Trauma Healing Manual, which is a faith-based program. It's a faith-based book, not just faith-based, but a lot of sayings, a lot of almost like things, memes and sayings that are important from our
Mm-hmm.
history throughout, and you get to relate to some things that you're going to get those aha moments, and hopefully be able to go back out in society and thrive, not dive. So
Yeah. Like you said, that you're a mental, physical, and spiritual being. You got to exercise all three. And, we've seen everybody go through it. Muslims, Satan worshipers, Christians, Catholics, you name it. Everybody's been through there, but it's the fact that you are exercising something of a faith, or a higher power, however you want to call it. And, it's got to be bigger than yourself. And, when you really sit down and do it, and I lean towards the Christianity side. So when I sat there and leaned towards, God, that's who I wanted to, move towards. And ever since, man, my life has been completely different. But yeah, it's an amazing program down there on the facility. Got 5 acres, multiple houses. They said, "Oh, you'll go to this bay." I thought it was going to be like the Marine Corps bays, like 40, 50, 60 guys in bunk beds right there. But no, it was like they full blown kitchen and living room, shared, living spaces on a bunk. But hey, you got to take it where you can get it.
Yeah, and the reason why it's built like that, I mean, they built it so it's actually like it's like a 7 bedroom apartment, and 2 to a room, so it's a pretty big deal. Everybody's got to come to the common areas to hang out. The rooms are pretty small, so you're not necessarily going to isolate in there. And so there's purpose behind all that, the way that they built it. But a lot of thought went into it. It was pretty amazing. I think they're in the process of building another apartment complex on there as well, similar to the one that's there. Is that correct?
I believe so. Over the years, they've been expanding it little by little. We finished those townhomes. I think we got 4 of them in the back end of the 5 acre property. We wanted to utilize them as family transitioning or even have a family program on there, but that's been pushed off a little bit as we grow. We're really growing the foundation. Like back in the day, maybe we had 4 mentors and they were the facilitators, the drivers, and now there's 40 plus people working there, so we're able to touch more lives that way than ever before. And it's been a blessing. We lost a lot of funding during the COVID, but afterwards we came out strong, and we've been able to just continue to grow and expand. And like Chief said, that's our main program, but we do chapters all over the US, and we do groups. There's different days and different times, and at any moment now, due to technology, you can get on and be able to share and talk and relate with guys. And don't get us wrong, we also do family groups. We put them through a lot, so it's amazing to have a program that we're able to get family members on and talking as well to heal through some of the stuff we've put them through and they've been involved in with us over the years.
Right, right. And talk a little bit about you. Obviously, you moved down to Dallas Fort Worth. You took on this new operation. Um, you're in. If you need to find a group, I put the link in the show notes. You can definitely do that, and Josh's group is in there as well. But talk a little bit about what you got going on down there in Dallas and Fort Worth, and what your goals are, and different things like that.
Yeah, definitely. So it was funny how it panned out. Me and my wife, we went through a hard time last year. We lost a son, and I sort of stepped away from the foundation for a little bit. And you know, God always has a plan. Ron calls, "Hey, do you want to come out to North Texas and Dallas?" I was like, "Yeah." So applied and interviewed, and just happened to be in Denton County is where he wanted me. I got family here, so we're working mobile right now. Our groups are all the way on the east side in Rockwall, and I've been establishing just a presence here in Denton County. You got multiple colleges, and probably at least 7% of the veteran population, or of the population in the county, is veteran. So we've been establishing footholds in the veteran treatment courts, the VFWs, the American Legions. We reached out to the county veteran service organizations, and we're talking and hanging out with them. I actually attend some of their groups, and they do great groups. And recently, last month, we did our 4th annual barbecue event. It was put on by Graystar, and we were able to raise $80,000. In 6 hours, just lots and lots of good barbecue, great food. And coming up in a few weeks, actually, we're going to have our 4th annual golf tournament in Farmers Branch. So, we're doing fundraising. I put together a strategic plan to sort of see where this chapter is going. There's a lot of veterans in the area, and we want to be able to have a place for them to meet and, rally around. We can do groups out of. So we are looking for, offices in the area. Ultimately, having some property would be great. But we're going to be putting it into the budget for later this, probably like Q4 or maybe even early 2023. So, we're out there ready to establish a brick and mortar to have, a place for people to swing by and be there. And, right now, though, I would say most of it's just the awareness of who we are, what we're doing, and just trying to get veterans down to Camp Hope or into groups to be able to help some of that combat trauma and what else is going on in life. Because, it is different than, down at Camp Hope. The groups do run differently, same idea, same mission, but guys that are, coming to the groups that are actually in the areas outside of it, they have jobs, they have families, they can't get away for that X amount of time. So, we want to make sure that we're able to impact lives in an hour. And that's why we do have that combat trauma healing manual to be able to take topics off of. And as you grow and build relationships with these guys, we're able to speak more life into them and lift them up and encourage them in certain areas that they're struggling with, and I used to love making up different classes with it, whether it's finances or communications or just relationships in general, and just sort of implement those. And you can't beat them with just straight education and the fundamentals of the curriculum. It's got to be a very free flowing life, hangout almost. But you can direct it. But yeah, that's what we're doing up here right now.
Yeah, you got to let the group go the direction it wants to go a lot of times, and I find that being to be the most important value in my groups. And you might be asking yourselves, why are these groups there, and you got to send people to Camp Hope? Well, Camp Hope's for the worst of the worst that are really dealing in really the worst part of their lives. Maybe they just need that extra support. But a lot of these groups also keep people from having to go to Camp Hope. They
Hmm.
also are a maintenance program for after Camp Hope. Talk a little bit about that and your feelings on that too.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're trying to establish even more. Though it's not on paper and it's not set, like that's what we are. So we're a pre and a post group for the P for combat trauma. When the guys do get out, they're riding high and they're feeling great, and we got to keep that momentum going. So we try to get them involved. Whether it's inviting them out to the events to speak, to share, what they've been through, or even just bring them on help for volunteers so they can go through the 30-hour and get certified to lead groups. And ultimately, we want to establish these guys with a job. A lot of them have families. um, Getting them in to be able to continuously be able to go over the curriculum and talk with guys, it really does help ourselves. It keeps me humble to remember where I came from years ago when I was homeless, going through a divorce, lost my kids for 2 years. It was hard. And, being able to do this, if we can save a guy from, having to walk years of hurt and pain and ruining his marriage, that's what we want to do. So, being able to catch them early. And we call them one-on-ones, but I just call them hangouts, like after groups and stuff down throughout the week. Let's meet up for coffee, or hey, let's go. I used to take guys prospecting up in the El Dorado County, so we'd go find gold, go gold panning, and we'd go shoot. And we build Jeeps up in Northern California, take it on the Rubicon. So getting them into activities and hobbies that gets them away from the normal stresses in everyday life, where they don't have to go down to Camp Hill to be able to open up and talk. And it's sort of just like the fire pit down there in Camp Hope. It's a lot of the healing comes from sitting around and just BSing with the guys and just talking. So when we get them out of that, group setting, you actually get to see a little more of who they are and a little bit who, you know, the little funny characters start coming out, and it's really good.
Yeah, those things are super important. I mean, when I look at it, you talk about all these things, and I think, right now the foundation. I mean, we got Logan McFarland. I'm going to have him on here too. He's the outreach coordinator for the foundation, but he is pushing for us to have that hangout
Hmm.
times. I mean, over the last couple of weeks, he's kind of said, "Hey, it's super important to just have hangout times." And me being, at Warrior Build and the PTSD Foundation, we got a lot of guys that hang out at Warrior Build because we go down. There's a lot of guys that race Baja to, you talk about vocational and recreational support, super important too. Like you said, building the Jeeps, getting on the Rubicon, going shooting, going doing these things. It's super important. And I think a lot of times we may not look at it like, hey, I'm not going to do that by myself because I don't feel like it, because I just want to isolate. I want to be depressed and I want to be just kind of doing the bare minimum. And then it's like, no, your battle buddy's calling you. You need to go. It's like, all right, I'll go. And then you go out there and you have a great time of it and you don't even realize it. Um, and it's just amazing to see that spirit kind of get lifted and maybe a new sense of purpose. And I see a lot of these guys just gravitating to it's like they put on a pair of shoes and now they're like a sprinter and they want to sprint. And it's like, hey, you got to slow down. You got to pace yourself, man. one pair of shoes at this speed wears out very fast. And then what are you going to do if you don't have another pair of shoes? So it's important to gather those hobbies. And like you said, I think the diversity of those things are super important. Talk a little bit about, any of that you feel.
Yeah, no, like you said, it's super important, and I've had to learn this over the last 6 7 years. I've worked for the foundation numerous times, and I've gotten burnt out in the past working 90-hour work weeks. I didn't know how to in the military you're constantly working, especially on deployments. But now I really have to have a set work time. I'll always answer texts and phone calls, and I'm really good about getting back if I miss. But I got to have family time. I want to focus on my relationship with God. I go to church, I go to men's groups there, and I like to hang out with older guys. They got a lot of wisdom. I'm 38, so I'm like in that weird age where I'm not old, but I'm definitely not young anymore, and I definitely don't feel like I was at 21. But I have numerous friends in different areas, and it's exciting because um, I have to have those. I have to be able to blow off steam, but I also have to have a good balance of hanging out with my wife, hanging out with family, taking care of the dog. So it's been years of truly learning how to have a life. Like I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to have a life again. Purpose in the military. I knew who Sergeant Castro was, but when you come out, it's like who's Josh? Um, and that's what we're trying to model. We want these guys to see, and that's why we're known for peer to peer. All the guys that are going to be facilitating the classes or groups are guys that have been through the program and they understand it, and we're modeling what has worked. And it's never the exact same as what we did, but we can give you tools necessary to be able to build your own program that's going to work for you internally. But yeah, you got to have escapes and you got to have balance.
And Josh, being in the PTSD Foundation of America, for the length of time that you have, I want to say that there's a lot of guys that maybe went through it at a time where it's just being thrown together. People are trying to make it happen. People are wanting to make it really, they're wanting to make it what it is, and it's finally starting to become even better as we go. I want to say, the leadership is taking a different route. Obviously, with COVID shutting down 40% of our staffing as it was, and now it's able to pick up and and start moving forward with some staff. How would you say the direction is from being a patient, obviously, going through it, and the patients today going through it? I was talk about some of the improvements, not to mention, the place has gotten bigger. Obviously, it started out with a bar house and then progressed into some other houses, but then obviously got the apartment and, the gym on the facility, some training facilities, programs that came on deck, the, the refuge.
Mhm.
Obviously, talk a little bit about your experience when you went there, um, and how it's grown for you.
Yeah, I remember when we could go everywhere in one van, the entire camp, and it's grown to the point where we have a bus, and now the bus has to take guys everywhere. But the mission's never changed. The mission has been to help veterans and their families, and that is what they have stuck to. And lucky for us, and blessed we are that it's grown over the years, and the type of networking and relationships we've built. Different places to go fishing and hunting all over the U.S. Going down into the Gulf to go fishing, different activities all over, being able to do golf tournaments and continuing to grow. And as we grow, our resources have grown. Like you said, the Refuge Counseling and Trauma Center in Conroe. Back in the day, there's probably like three counselors, and they've been able to work alongside with us, grow alongside with us, bring on new people, and it's been great for the guys because they do professional group and one-on-one counseling. To this day, I still have the same counselor that I talk to on the weekly because she knows my story, she knows my life, and she's done good with me over the years, getting me to the point where I'm at. The foundation. Camp Hope has changed, but it's for the better. And at first, I didn't like it. I like small. I would call myself more of an introvert. I like the small, more intimate groups of one-on-one settings. But the thing is, if we want to make more of an impact, we have to grow, and that's going to cause people to butt heads. but they butt heads because there's a passion behind it. And we're all vets, so we got to learn to communicate, and we have learned to communicate. Guys like Ron, like he's been around, since I went through as one of the program directors, and his vision of what he wants is amazing. And guys like having Warrior built down there, like that's given us a vision, like, hey, we need a hangout area for guys to be able to go to, and to be able to maintain that relationship with you. That's been great for all of us. I can't count the number of guys I've seen come in from SoCal. And it's going to continue to grow, and I have faith in that. I always ask myself, like, is this a job I can see myself out for the rest of my life? And I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes I work 2 years, sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's more. But if there's a need, like, I'm always going to be there to help. And I've always given my 2 cents on how to grow specific positions. And I've been involved, and I love it because two of my bosses are, guys that I mentored through the program. That's what it should be. We should have guys that are coming on board and doing better than we are, just like, you are with like kids. I want my kids to do better than me. My dad wanted me to do better than him. We have to strive to continue to do that, and it's happening. So I'm very pleased at what they're going, and what they're doing. I do miss being down there 24/7, and hanging out with the vets and seeing the new guys coming in and seeing them leaving in 6+ months with a big smile on their face, completely different than they were when they came in. I miss hearing a lot of the fourth steps and what these guys go through. And I try to get down there as much as I can because I do miss it. But it's probably one of the best places I've ever been in, and I will probably continue to either volunteer or something throughout my life for it. God forbid there's another war coming up, but we got a lot of focus to be on with the Vietnam guys, even some Korea guys, but the Gulf, OIF, OEF guys. I've seen a lot of them coming out of the military, as a veteran service rep, and there's a need. And the VA can only do so much, and that's where we got to step it up and continue to grow this, because I see a lot of guys making it through this program, and they're doing it successfully, and that's what we need. We need more guys because we can't do it the way we used to. We got to continue to grow.
Exactly. And I think, one of those things that you kind of said was, you've done this for a little while. You might do it for 1 or 2 years, but we all have to be careful about burnout, right? And you talked
Mm-hmm.
about it a little bit. When you're pushing that 90-hour limit, I always have to be careful about it too. I mean, I'm on the 20-hour work week deal, but I find myself almost at 30, but I don't push it. But I have to pace myself. I have to do these things because otherwise I just get too overwhelmed. But it's my life, and you got to have some passion for it in everything you said. And as you said, we're taking care of some Korean vets, some I mean, even World War II vets. I don't know if any World War II vet has gone through the program, but there are World War II vets. I just got Andrina Shields. She lost her son. I tried to save his life. Tried to get him to Camp Hope. He took his life Memorial Day, um, almost 5 years ago.
Mm.
And she sent me a thing today. John Barry Cobb left us to join his wife Marilyn. He was basically born in 1923 and was a World War II vet. Um, but donated some money to the PTSD Foundation on his way out. So in lieu
Oh.
of, or in lieu of flowers, the family's requesting that a donation go to the PTSD Foundation. So you got all these guys that really appreciate what we're doing as a value. That just came to me today. So I'm always like hearing about these things and these people that just really care about what we're doing. And I think it reflects what these organizations are trying to do by guys like you that are out there doing all these things. Um, and I just want to say, the veterans that actually try to get the help, it's really rewarding to see them smile, like you said, when they leave Camp Hope, or even to come through and almost need Camp Hope at the group, but by 6 months to a year later, they're finding work. They're coming out of a depressive state that's totally irreversible kind of thing looked at when you first got them to now that they're trying to get a job, they're trying to thrive in life. Now they're still dealing with a lot of stuff. I mean, I think we deal with a lot of things as PTSD to the thought processes to the physical injuries to whatever it is. There's a lot of dealing, but we still want to make it to the door, and we're going to turn that knob and we're going to walk out of it because
Yep.
we want to go in because we want to go into the world and do things, or we have to make it to somewhere because it's required to function. Um, but uh, but yeah, man, thanks for being on the show. I'm going to definitely have you on the show again too when I can see your face and these and the audience can see it too. I think it'll be great for you to kind of talk about what you're doing, how things are going in Texas, and obviously there's a lot going on in Texas, but you're specifically in Dallas, Fort Worth area. Um,
Yeah, no.
I think that's awesome, man. It's great to see. I know we haven't had time to talk too much in between. I didn't really know what was going on with you. Thanks for sharing that. Obviously, we share some very intimate things on all the time with as a peer to peer mentor, and I'm sorry for the loss of
Mhm.
your baby, but thanks for being here. Thanks for doing anything. Any closing comments or anything? Please put it out there. Love to hear it.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate it, and we share those things because I want guys to know, I want people to know, you can continue to overcome stuff. Like it's a pretty big trauma, on top of war trauma, but yet, here I am, and we're still moving forward, and it's like, yeah, I'm telling you, what they taught me at Camp Hope are skills that will work. I think one of the important things I wanna leave with at the every year I'd go down to my buddy's grave in Santa Barbara, and every year I wouldn't go up to his grave. And his mom caught me one year, and she brought me up there, and I'll always remember the words she said. Like, she wasn't mad. Like, a mother's love's incredible, and she wasn't mad that he didn't come home. And she told me, she's like, just live a life worth living for my son. And when she said that, there was something that just sparked through me, and I realized, you know what? It's like, I will give every last breath of mine trying to help combat vets, because we go through stuff that not a lot of people will ever understand, and it means the world to me. And to be in somebody's corner, especially in those dark moments of depression, and even those suicidal ideation times, I want to be there for the guys. And it's hard to do. It's hard to hear, but I want to live a life worth living for my buddy Jaime Rodriguez. He got KIA'd in 2007, along with a couple other buddies. But no, I will continue to do what I can, Chief, and I appreciate you. Like, guys like you motivate me. You were doing this before me, so I appreciate you.
Well, thanks, Josh. Thanks for being on my show. You know, Obviously this is a new platform on Bullhorn FM, but hey, thanks for coming on. Thanks for bringing all the information that you have. I know you're always well spoken, so I always appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in Texas and in SoCal and all these other things. But I'll see you next week when we have our meeting. I got a call with Ron here in a couple minutes,
No
but
worries.
I got on the back end of his deal just to talk to him for about 15 minutes. I got so. Hey, I appreciate you. We'll talk to you
Appreciate you,
soon.
Chief.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, this is Aaron Siebert, retired Navy chief, lucky to be alive after being hit with a mortar round. This is Combat Vet Vision. This is where we get to kind of bring some stuff to the forefront and talk about it and get that rawness out, as well as some really good information. Until next time, strength and honor. Out.